Hello, my friends. Mayor Heather Moreno here with your recap from the Tuesday night City Council meeting of Atascadero from September 14th, 2021. I'm going to put a link below so you can check out the video and watch the whole thing or any portion of it that you might find interesting. Through the consent calendar, a couple items of note, just moving forward with design of some of our F14 road projects and then some construction on El Camino. So good news, the road work continues in Atascadero. During the city manager's report, we had our public works director, that sounds more appropriate, public works director, Nick DeBar, talk about the striping on Morro Road, because I know there's a lot of questions, people are confused about it, and unfortunately it's not done yet. Caltrans, instead of going out in one overnight or in a couple of days doing the whole thing, has kind of been doing it piecemeal over a month, and it's still continuing. So I know a lot of folks are confused. Nick tries to go through and explain that a little bit better, and so I'll let you know where exactly to find that in the video if you want to go check that out. It'll take us all a little bit of time to get used to it, but ultimately it was a really good project that was paid for by Caltrans that improved the added sidewalks, surfaced the road, things like that. So very good for business, very good for Atascadero. Also during community forum, Eric Daniels from PG&E came and he talked about a lot of the power outages that we're experiencing, and that it's actually a safety issue with PG&E, and it's not the same as the PSPS, those power safety shutoffs, but something a little bit different, and I will also let you know where to find that if you'd like to listen to his explanation of what's happening in those cases. Then actually on our agenda, we had really only one item of note, and that is we were looking at the properties on East Mall, over by Centennial Plaza, next to that, I still call it a new parking lot, but it's been there for a few years, but fairly new parking lot. The city owns 4 different lots there. They're fairly small, about 25 feet, frontage, so individually they're quite small lots. But talking about what do we want to do with those lots, and the things that we discussed are, would we use it for extra parking? We could potentially get 35 to 40 parking spaces in there. And, during that discussion, we said that, no, really parking is not a huge issue downtown. And with the downtown enhancement, we are adding over 100 parking spaces. And we really didn't think that that was the highest and best use to add a bunch of parking spaces. Another one was looking at public restrooms, and that's a struggle because a lot of folks I know would like to have public restrooms downtown. I get it, it would make things easier. There are also challenges with that because we don't have the foot traffic downtown that we would like to have ultimately, that we're working towards. You unfortunately get some undesirable activity and criminal activity that happens, that can happen in those restrooms, and you've got school kids going by and just some undesirable activities that we would want to put these restrooms out so that, say, a parent and their child could go to the restroom while they're out shopping, or somebody with an elderly relative, but that could end up being the very place that those people don't want to go because they would be afraid to go in there. So we're a little bit challenged in looking at that issue, but I'll come back to that. The other thing that we looked at is, what if we were to put together a plan development overlay and say, this is the type of project, loosely, we might like to see come forward to enhance the downtown. Because let's be honest, what have we all talked about for years, for decades, that we want downtown, especially around the park? We don't want more offices. We want restaurants. We want nice shops. We want it to be a pedestrian-friendly place that is going to draw people to our downtown. So that's something we have all talked about for years. Every survey we've ever done, anytime we get public input, that's what people want. And so council gave some direction, and we let staff know. Let me find my notes here. First of all, that if something with a plan development and putting that out eventually to RFP, RFQ for a private developer, if there's an opportunity to weave in a public restroom option, is there a possibility for that? How might that work? We want to see what those options might be. We want to see somebody come back with an idea that could be beneficial for our downtown and for all residents. We also said We definitely want to limit that downstairs area in any building to restaurant and, retail that will be, how would I say this? Conducive to a downtown, right? You don't want a hardware store or a paint store or things like that. And a lot of those already aren't allowed in the current zoning, but we really want to make sure it is a draw for a lot of pedestrian traffic. We also said, on the second floor, certainly you could do office, potentially Airbnb. We weren't all agreed on that, but we said we're willing to take a look at that. You could have office space up top. It's that traditional mixed use. And then we all agreed that you could put a rooftop on top of that second floor. So you could have a rooftop restaurant, bar, something like that. And we gave general guidance with regards to the look and feel of it. We don't need it to, mimic City Hall in La Plaza, but we want it to fit in. We want it to complement that. And so staff will go away with that direction and put together ideas for a plan development overlay that then will go through the public process, through the planning commission. It will eventually come back to council. And then we will go out for RFP, RFQ. There is one little, I'm going to say little, kind of a big thing that goes along with that. Because of an assembly bill passed by the legislature back in 2019, any property that the city owns that we decide is surplus property, meaning we're not using it for city purposes, needs to be put out first for affordable housing. And because of that, we can't simply move forward with this ideal plan development and say, this is what we want. We have to simultaneously go out and say, hey, if you want to do affordable housing, then, we've got this property, but here are the zoning requirements. So the good thing is that residential is not allowed on the ground floor. So going out for affordable housing, it could only be on the top story. And really, you're not looking at being able to fit in a lot of units. It would be unlikely that an organization who builds affordable housing would find this desirable. So it is, my thought is it will probably end up going in the other direction. We'll have a private developer or a group of developers coming together and building something that really is a benefit for the entire community. Now, there could be residential on the second floor, which is totally fine, similar to like what La Plaza is doing. Bottom line, though, we're open to what that looks like. So we didn't vote on something and say, this is what it's going to be, but we gave direction and said, yes, number one, go ahead and demolish that little house there that is just unsalvageable. It's been looked at by engineers and it is the rot, everything, it's unsalvageable. So let's get rid of that. Number two, let's look at a plan development overlay. If we can possibly bring in a public restroom within that, what would that look like that would meet all the requirements and really genuinely serve the community? And then finally, again, the look and feel and what we would want those uses to be. So we gave that, we said we want it to be flexible. We're not looking for this rigid document, but we also want to make sure that we as a community get what we've always wanted downtown and that it lends to that vibrancy that we so badly want to see continue, that's been growing over the last several years, and we want to be part of that and we want to help facilitate that in the downtown. So that is it. I know that was it sounds like a kind of a convoluted discussion, and you could certainly go look at that also in the video, but be on the lookout for that coming back several months from now. But I'd say, within the next year, ideally, if we move forward with that, it should be saleable and ready to go. But it does take some time. And that is it. If you want to reach out to me, have any questions, I'm old school, email is a great way to do that, hmoreno@atascadero.org. You can certainly message me here. Sometimes I don't even see or find the messages. I'm somewhat challenged when it comes to figuring that out. But email, I definitely see those and can get back to you. And I guess that's it. Have an amazing rest of your week. Bye for now.